Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay. I had a little bit of technical difficulty getting everything set up today. I was going to use a really beautiful picture that I took of the Disney Magic in Progreso, Mexico, but it was apparently too high definition and too big for the StreamYard programming to handle. So I'm going with this picture, which is while we were still docked. Let me go this way. There is the bow of the Disney Magic. And this is the bridge some of you may recognize that's in New Orleans. And it was really quite interesting because we wondered if we were actually going to go under this bridge because, we're pointed right at it. But the ship actually had to go the other way down the river. The Mississippi, if you look at a map, you can see that the Mississippi River Delta down there in New Orleans is it's a huge area that's very swampy, and it's almost hard to tell when you're looking at the map where exactly the river is, but it's very windy. It goes back and forth and back and forth, and you're going to see that when I get to that vlog eventually. But I was very surprised at how we had to turn around here. The ship actually, it went forward and it just missed this pier right here. It had to turn really tight to turn around and go the other way down the river. And then the other thing I was very surprised about with cruising out of New Orleans is that it took a really long time to get down the Mississippi River from New Orleans. It's a long way. And I don't think the ship could go very fast. It must be you have to be pretty careful in that shipping channel. It took us at least 6 hours to get to the Gulf of Mexico from New Orleans. So it's a lot farther than you think. It's interesting, but we didn't really get to watch a lot of it past the beginning because then it was time for dinner and our table wasn't anywhere near a window. We could kind of see out the window from a distance, but it takes a lot longer than I was expecting to get down the Mississippi River from New Orleans, where the cruise ships dock, to the actual Gulf of Mexico. And then we did go into the Caribbean Sea for a little bit too, like when we went to Cozumel. So first, real quick, can you tell me, does the picture look okay? And is the sound okay? Because I was still setting up my video and my mic when I got here. Okay, I'm going to trust that it's okay. Hi, Heidi. Thank you for being here. Okay, hopefully some more folks will join us soon. If anybody can let me know if the sound and the picture are okay, I would really appreciate it. Still kind of tweaking my stuff here. Okay, I just finished filming right before I came here to do the live stream. I just finished filming my 4th Stitch Fix unboxing, and there were actually 3 pieces in this one that I wanted to keep, if you've been following that, but I decided not to keep one of them because it was hand wash and lay flat to dry. Who's with me on this? I'm sorry. If I have to remember that it has to be hand washed and laid flat to dry, I'm never going to remember that. And I'm going to end up washing it and drying it. It's going to shrink and I'm not going to be able to wear it anymore. So I sent one top back that I would have liked to keep, but I just knew I would never remember to care for it like that. I am going to have a pause now in the clothing videos because we're going on our Alaska cruise in, hold on. Our Alaska cruise is in 49 days, so 7 weeks. And Ben and I are pretty stressed because we only have 7 weeks to finish all of his 4th quarter classes. We basically lost the whole first week because we were having a real issue with the math, what they were going to give us for math. And then he decided he was going to have German again, and he decided he didn't want to do German again. And I was actually very relieved because I didn't want to do German again because I didn't like how that class was set up. And my German is not strong enough that I can help him in German well enough like I can with French. Like French is super easy for me. And so, but German, I'm still a beginner too. So he dropped the German. And then we decided he's not going to do math. So we have a math issue, which we're going to have to deal with later, but we just couldn't do another semester of algebra. We just about died with algebra. Who feels this way about algebra? And so we only have 7 weeks. We lost like the first week because then we had to add classes and We got a late start, and we also have to finish 2 weeks early for the quarter because we're going on our cruise to Alaska. Because when Andrew, my oldest, and Megan, my middle child, get done with their schools, Ben's school still actually has 2 more weeks, but he can work at his own pace with virtual school. And so we're just going to have to work really fast. We figured it out. We have 184 assignments to get done in 7 weeks. So we're a little stressed about that. The other thing that's had me stressed out this week is I feel so bad for my daughter, Megan. My daughter, Megan, has been very, very sick ever since we got back from our Disney cruise. She was completely fine on the cruise. Ben and I are completely fine. She got back to school on late Saturday night a week ago from our trip, and we got home that night. Big thanks to my mom, because my mom met us at the airport and drove Megan back to college, because otherwise that adds an additional 2 hours of driving. And so since my mom took her back and I didn't have to, I only had to drive 2 hours home instead of the 4 hours it would have taken me, and I would have got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. So thanks to my mom for doing that, because that was a huge help. I was already very tired. And there's only one flight a day from New Orleans to Minneapolis. There were so many people on this Disney Magic cruise from the Midwest, and there were so many people from Wisconsin. It was freaky. I expected all the people on this cruise to be from the South, and there were a few families from the South. I mean, you could really identify the families from the South because they all had Southern accents, but like we heard almost none. And so we're like, where are these people from? And then when you go to the game shows and in the shows and things like that, they always like ask where people are from, and like a whole bunch of people were from Wisconsin. And when we flew back last Saturday from New Orleans, which there's only one flight a day, like I said, from New Orleans to Minneapolis, nonstop, almost everybody on our plane had been on our cruise. So that was kind of weird. So we're not sure. There was one woman on our flight who was not wearing a mask, and she was coughing like crazy. I felt so bad for her husband. She was coughing all over her poor husband. We saw her in the New Orleans airport. I didn't see her on the plane. I mean, I know she was on our flight, and we saw her again on Minneapolis in the Minneapolis airport after we got home, and she was coughing. And there were a few other people that were coughing. So I don't know if Megan picked up something on the ship and Ben and I just got lucky, or, in the airport or something, or if she picked it up at school. When she got back to school, the very next day on Sunday, she had an 8-hour play rehearsal. And I kind of wonder if somebody at play rehearsal was sick, although I think she wears her mask in rehearsal. I don't know. We're mystified as to how Megan got so sick and we didn't. Poor Megan spent 3 hours at urgent care yesterday only to have them tell her nothing. Oh, it's a virus. Get rest, drink fluids. So she wasted all that time waiting. I know. So I feel so bad for her. She did make it through her plays. She had performances last night and the night before. And she told me last night that last night went better than the night before. She doesn't have a voice is her problem. So she couldn't really project. And the director pulled her aside at dress rehearsal on Wednesday night and said, "You need to project more." And she's like, "I'm sick." And he's like, "Oh, sorry." So they lowered the music in the show for the parts when she's talking, and they were going to give her own lapel mic so then they could hear her better. And she said last night went much better. And she is gradually starting to feel better. So she has another show tonight, and then she has 3 more next week. So 6 shows in total. She's used to that. In our community theater, yeah, that's a possibility, Heidi. We didn't get a lot of sleep on the cruise. And I'm going to be talking about one reason for that in one of my upcoming videos that I just filmed recently. Yeah, she didn't sleep real well the last night of the cruise. I think she was worried about the fact that we had to get up early. You always have to get up so early to get off the ship. That's one thing. I wish there was more time between disembarkation of the passengers getting off and the embarkation of the passengers getting on, because I feel like that's such a stressful day for the crew. And it's also stressful for the disembarking passengers, the passengers that are getting off the ship, because you've had this nice, relaxing vacation. And then it's like, okay, you got to get up at 6 a.m. and get off, and I totally understand because they have to turn over the entire ship, but it doesn't really give them enough time to really do things. And it's really kind of a rude awakening for people that are getting off. We didn't go to breakfast. We said, forget it, we're not going to go to breakfast. And we just slept as late as we could on that last day, but that still was only like 7. So yeah. But anyway, if anybody has any questions about our Disney cruise, please put those in the chat. Do you have any questions about cruising out of New Orleans? And we did spend a couple of days in New Orleans before the cruise. Megan and I had been to New Orleans before. I've been there several times. This was Ben's first time going to New Orleans. We did also drive from Memphis, Tennessee to New Orleans because it was $1,800 less expensive for us to fly to Memphis than to fly round trip to New Orleans. Don't ask me why. Airfare is messed up. Sorry. So we actually flew to Memphis, went to Graceland, which was great. And I'm posting a bunch of pictures from Graceland on my Instagram currently. And then we drove, just missing those tornadoes that went across Mississippi. We were like right ahead of it. They hit right behind us when we were driving from Memphis to New Orleans on the night of Friday, March 24th, which was very scary just driving too. It was a long way to drive. It was about a 6-hour drive after we had spent the whole day at Graceland. And it was very, very windy the whole way. I mean, the semis were really having trouble. And it was blowing our car around. We were in an SUV. I had a Chevy Traverse from the rental car. It was very nice. And it was lots of lightning. And then every once in a while, we'd have a torrential downpour. And it was kind of annoying, actually, because it couldn't make up its mind if it was going to rain or not. It would like torrential downpour for 5 minutes, and then it would stop. And then it would just kind of spit a little bit of rain. And I'm like, make up your mind, just rain or don't rain. But it did that the whole way we were driving. So it was really kind of a tiring drive. But then we got to New Orleans, and we spent basically 2 days in New Orleans. And then we went on the ship on Monday. Yes, this was a different ship than we were on in October. This was the Disney Magic out of New Orleans. And in October, we were on the Disney Wonder. The Disney Wonder and the Disney Magic are sister ships. They're the 2 original Disney Cruise Line ships. The Magic was actually built first, came out in 1998. And my son Andrew and I first cruised on it in 2001 when it was only 3 years old. And the Wonder came out, I think, 1 year later in 1999. So they're the oldest ships in the fleet, but they're kept up beautifully. The Wonder next year is going to Australia. So a lot of people are very excited about that. Ben really wanted us to do one of the cruises in Australia, but I don't know how we'd ever afford it. And also that plane trip. I mean, I'd almost rather do all the legs to Australia on the cruise than to take that flight. I don't know if I could. I mean, I could do it, but it wouldn't be fun. I mean, I feel like if you're going to do a flight that long, you got to have enough money to pay for something where you can lay down, where your seat is flat. You can lay down flat, because otherwise it's so long. I don't know how people do it. You'd have to break it up. But let's see, what else can I tell you guys until I get more questions? Do you have any questions about the Disney Magic? Do you have any questions about... There's not a lot of difference between the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder other than the decor. It's just, I mean, they're both very classic ocean liner looking ships, very nice. And we did do the Art of the Theme tour on both ships. I did it by myself on the Disney Wonder because it was just Ben and me, and it's for 18 and up. Megan went with me and did the Art of the Theme tour on the Magic. Yes, the restaurants are different a little bit. Okay, on the Wonder, if you're not aware, Disney has what's called rotational dining. So they have 3 main dining rooms, and you rotate through the dining rooms. You don't really rotate. I don't know why they say that. You have a schedule. On this particular cruise, okay, let's see. On our Disney Wonder cruise in October, because it was only 4 nights, we ate in each dining room once, and then we ate in Animator's Palette. No, not Animator's Palette. We ate in Tiana's place a second time. On this cruise, because it was 5 nights, We ate in Animator's Palette twice. We ate in Rapunzel's twice, and we only ate in Lumiere's once. But we did eat in Rapunzel's several more times because that was the restaurant that was open for lunch. And if we had ever gotten up, we could have also eaten in Lumiere's more times because that was the restaurant that they were using to serve sit-down breakfast. But we never got up in time to go to sit-down breakfast. So on the Wonder, the 3 restaurants are Triton's, which is Little Mermaid themed, Animator's Palette, and Tiana's Place, which is heavily themed to The Princess and the Frog. And Tiana comes and like walks around and meets people. And there's really good live jazz music and stuff in there. And then on the Magic, which we just went on, Animator's Palette is exactly the same. I should tell you that Animator's Palette on the Dream and the Fantasy are different than the Animator's Palette that are on the Magic and the Wonder. So it's a little different. I really like the Animator's Palette on the Magic and the Wonder, though. The show element of it, the animation theme, and the food I really like in Animator's Palette. And then the third restaurant on the Magic was Rapunzel's. So it's heavily themed to Tangled. It looks just like you're in the movie Tangled. It's really pretty. They have the lanterns and stuff. And one night that we were in there was the Rapunzel show. So Rapunzel is there, Flynn is there, 2 of the guys from the Snuggly Duckling are there, and there's a really good musical trio that are playing live music, and Rapunzel and Flynn and the Snuggly Duckling guys come around and meet everybody, and you get pictures with them. And so that's what Rapunzel's is like. And we talked about it when we were on the cruise. Since the Animator's palettes are the same, we couldn't really compare them, but we all agreed that we liked, well, Megan didn't remember, but we agreed that we liked Rapunzel's better than Tiana's Place. And we liked that one on the Magic better, but we liked Triton's on the Wonder better than Lumiere's on the Magic. And I can't really put my finger on why, but a couple of the reasons that kind of come to mind is just the decor we liked a little bit more in Triton's on the Wonder, and Lumiere's was really loud. It seemed to have like a higher ceiling, and it was a much busier cruise this time. I should tell you that. There were a lot more people on this ship on the Magic over spring break than we had on the ship on the Wonder in October. And so loudness was kind of a thing on the cruise in general. There were a lot of kids. And I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video, but there were a couple times where the kids were so loud that I was doing this. I mean, there were a couple of very specific times, but it was a lot of kids and it was pretty crowded. So it might have just been because of that. Do they tell you in advance what time the characters will be there so you get a chance to meet them? Do you mean in the restaurants? Because there's characters everywhere. This ship, the Magic, was like the Disneyland of Disney Cruise Line ships. And what I mean by that, if you've ever been to Disneyland in California, the characters are just everywhere. And I've got a vlog about that coming up too. The difference between meeting characters at Walt Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California is night and day. At Walt Disney World in Florida, you've got to wait in line or get a lightning lane, or it's hard to meet the characters at Walt Disney World. You have to go through a process. At Disneyland in California, they're just there. You're just walking down the path and they just like walk up to you and go, hi. Oh, look, there's this person. There's this person. You just walk, they're just wandering around. And that's what it was like on this ship. We ran into so many characters just wandering the hallway. Oh, hello, Captain Hook. How are you today? Oh, hi, Captain Marvel. How's it going? One night we ran into Spider-Man, and Megan had like a 15-minute conversation with Spider-Man. I have to make sure I put that in the vlog. And she was so excited to meet Spider-Man. And oh my gosh, I don't know how they do that, but it was like totally exactly Tom Holland's voice. So either that was Tom Holland on the ship, or they found somebody who has a really close voice to Tom Holland, or they somehow magically changed that person's voice to sound just like Spider-Man. But she had an absolutely terrific interaction with Spider-Man. So there's those. There's just these random interactions with the characters just walking around. And I've never seen that so much on a Disney cruise as I did on this one. And we bonus got all those Marvel characters because the Disney Magic is the ship where they have Marvel Day at Sea. We weren't on for Marvel Day at Sea, but because they had all the Marvel characters on the ship anyway, they just decided to bring them out. Just have them come out and meet everybody. You could meet Captain Marvel and Captain America and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and everybody was on there and they were just around and you got to meet them. They do also additionally have a schedule, and it's on the app and it's up on screens in the main atrium. And so there's fixed times for like the big characters, Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Pluto, Donald, Daisy, those. Or if they were going to have like a set time, then there are set times multiple times a day. There are always usually lines for the characters, but the lines are nowhere near as long as you'd ever experience in the parks. And we only stood in line once on this one. We wanted to meet Pluto. We got a cute picture with Pluto. But you can meet lots. There's like 5 different places on the ship where they always have character meet and greets going on all the time. And then in the dining rooms, like Tiana's place and Rapunzel's, you don't know exactly when they're going to get you. It's a show. So like it's a story. Something's happening. In Rapunzel's, what it is it's Rapunzel's birthday party. And so we're all there as guests for Rapunzel's birthday party. And so they're doing this little show about, oh, it's my birthday and da 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 da. And then kind of at the end. So I would say like when you're having your dessert is when they kind of come around. Although in Tiana's place, I would say she came around sooner than that. She came around. Oh, and it's her, and it's also Louis, the alligator, comes around in Tiana's place. And I think they were coming around all through dinner. And they go to every table, and they meet everybody, and they talk to you, and they let you take pictures with them. So, yeah, it's not like a set thing, but they have it down to a science, so they get around to the entire dining room during the time that we're eating, and everybody gets to meet them. So, any other questions? Let's see. But other than that, the staterooms, the cabins on Disney Magic were exactly the same as they were on Disney Wonder. The decor and everything is the same. On Disney Wonder, we had just an ocean view with just a porthole, a big portal. And on this one, we did have a balcony, and we did get some pretty significant use out of our balcony on this cruise. It was hot. Our last 2 cruises were very cold. This cruise was not cold. This cruise was very hot. It was very hot and very humid. It was very hot in New Orleans. It was in the high 80s, very, very humid. It was very hot in Mexico. So, I mean, 80s, 90s. I think if you went inland on one of the shore excursions, it was like in the hundreds. It was very hot. So if you're hungry after a dining time, where can you get food? Room service is 24/7 and it's free on Disney Cruise Line. So there's that. And the buffet is open. It's not open continually, but it's open most of the day. So it'll be like, I don't know, I'm just making these times up, but it'll be like 6 to 10:30. It'll be open for breakfast. And then 11 to 3, it'll be open for lunch. And then like 5 to 10, I don't even know. So it's got like little gaps in between where they can like reset it for the next meal, but the buffet is open almost all the time. And then on the top deck, there are several grab and go places. There's Daisy's Delights, which has like salads and bowls and wraps, healthy stuff. And there's Pluto's Pizzeria. No, not Pluto's. Pinocchio's Pizzeria, where you can get pizza. And then there's Donald's something, where you can get burgers, fries, hot dogs, stuff like that. And then there's the Cove Cafe, which is adults only, which Megan and I went into several times. There's specialty coffees in there, and they have like little, like the stuff you'd see in Starbucks, little pastries and things like that. The buffet is good, yeah. It was crowded on this one. Yes, all the food is included. The only food that is not included, and soda is all included on Disney. All your drinks are included except for alcohol. So you get a lot more included. All your food is included. You can eat everywhere. The only exception is in Palo, the adults only specialty dining Italian restaurant is the only place that food isn't included, and you have to make a reservation there. I went there once with my son Andrew, and I didn't really care for it, and so I've never had any desire to go there again, because the food in the main dining room was great. So, and then if you get one of those specialty coffees in the Cove Cafe, those cost extra, and alcohol costs extra. But they don't have drinks packages on Disney Cruise Line because they don't really want to be promoting. It's a family friendly cruise line with a lot of children, and they don't really want to be promoting like massive alcohol consumption, So if people are buying drinks on Disney Cruise Line, they're only getting like one or two here and there. I mean, I would see people like with glasses of wine. That was the most common thing I saw. Like at the theater at night for the shows, there would be folks with glasses of wine, but you didn't see people drinking a bunch of cocktails or beer or anything like that, because most people are with their kids and they don't really want to be intoxicated, I'm sure. The coffee in Cove Cafe was extra, but regular coffee, every place else is included. So, and there's a whole big drink station right outside the buffet that's open all the time, where you can get 25 different kinds of soda, coffee, hot chocolate, milk, all of that. It's all free. So, and they have all the cups there and everything. You can even bring your own refillable thing if you want. All the drinks, except for alcohol and the specialty coffees on Disney Cruise Line, are included. All sodas included. That's one of the big benefits I like about Disney Cruise Line, because I can get a Coke with my lunch if I want, and it doesn't cost me any extra. So that's really nice. The buffet, going back to the buffet, it's nice. It's like a Caribbean themed buffet. I do like the buffets on the Magic and the Wonder because they have a very significantly sized outdoor seating area, and part of it is shaded. So you can sit outside, and one day we ate lunch out there, and you can look over the wake over the back of the ship. And then you can even go upstairs, and there's some more tables up there. So a lot of places, a lot of ships don't have any place that you can eat your buffet food outdoors. They're all just inside. So that's something that I like on the Disney ships. I mean, there's a nice range of food on the buffet on Disney Magic and Wonder. And they do also, they kind of have themes. I remember paying attention to that on my very first Disney cruise. I didn't pay as close attention on this one. But like, I know one day was like Indian foods, and one day was like Mexican and stuff. And so they'll still have all the regular stuff too, but they'll just have like one station that'll be something themed too. So let me talk about the shows. The shows on Disney Cruise Line are amazing. They are Broadway quality shows. I mean, if you've ever seen a show, if you've ever seen a traveling or a touring Disney Broadway production, they're amazing. They're like that. Or if you've ever seen one of the shows in the parks, I mean, they're extremely well done. They're better than anything you're going to see on any other ship. I mean, Royal Caribbean does some really nice shows, but I'm sorry, Disney's still better. I mean, you have confetti and snow and giant puppets, and the acting and singing talent is incredible. And there was a visiting Broadway star on this cruise with us, and she was in several of the shows. And then she also gave workshops and stuff that people could go to. I didn't go to any of those. Yeah, we've been to Disney on Ice too. Heidi, did you live in Wisconsin? Oh my gosh. I don't think I realized that. We live in Western Wisconsin. I went to college in Appleton. I went to Lawrence University. Anyway, small world. So many people from Wisconsin on this cruise. Like, I'm serious, like half the cruise ship was people from Wisconsin. It was weird. And if they weren't from Wisconsin, they were from somewhere else in the Midwest. Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Ohio, Indiana. They were all from the Midwest. I wasn't expecting that at all. It was so weird. But anyway, the shows. There's 3 Broadway style shows, Disney productions, on each Disney Cruise Line cruise. And on this one, it was Disney Dreams, An Enchanted Classic. Is that right? Twice Charmed, A Twist on the Cinderella Story. That was actually the one we liked the best. And Tangled. We liked Tangled a lot, but we all agreed that we liked Frozen on the Wonder better than Tangled on the Magic. But they're both really good. And then the other nights, they would fill in, those would be spaced out. Like Tangled was the first night we were on the ship. Twice Charmed was like 2 nights later. And then Disney Wishes was the last night of the cruise. And so there were 2 other nights in between there where they had to have something else in the main theater. And one night was a magician, which we didn't like that show. It had so much potential, but we didn't like it. And then the other night, they actually showed Strange World in the big Walt Disney Theater. That was Pirate Night. And I think they wanted to provide an indoor alternative for people who didn't want to go up on the top deck for the Pirate Deck Party. The Pirate Deck Party was technically the main show for that night, but it was very, very, very windy. And it can get kind of loud and crowded, and it can be kind of late for little kids. But that's the night they set off the fireworks. And I did film the fireworks, and Ben filmed the fireworks on our last cruise. Disney is the only cruise line at sea currently that shoots off fireworks. Disney also pays big bucks to have environmentally friendly fireworks that do not harm sea life. So don't worry about the fireworks putting icky stuff in the ocean, because they are specially crafted fireworks that don't hurt the fish. Or cause pollution in the water or anything. So that's really cool. Why not? Yeah, the costumes are amazing. What are you saying why not to, Heidi? I missed something. Other than that, there's all kinds of fun game shows and activities. The entertainment staff, as usual, got to know us really well. Megan performed, I think, 10 times in karaoke, and she became famous on the ship. Like, little girls were running up to her saying, "I want to be just like you." I can't put Megan singing karaoke in the vlogs because it'll be copyright and my video will be demonetized. But if you ever get a chance to see Megan sing, I'm sorry, she's just better than everybody else. I mean, she just is. But she's a professionally trained singer who's been performing for years, and she gets voice lessons, and she's worked as a professional Elsa for Disney for a licensed Disney performance. She's played Queen Aduna, which is Elsa and Anna's mother, in an actual performance in front of a theater of like 2,500 people. She's very talented, and she has a lot of experience singing. So when she went up there, the entertainment staff every night was like, "Oh, and now it's time for Megan," But Ben and I also did karaoke. We did karaoke together. I didn't do anything by myself, and the reason for that is something I'm going to talk about in an upcoming video. Ben also did a couple of duets with Megan, and Ben did one song by himself. Yes, Ben did In Summer as Olaf from Frozen by himself. I was very proud of Ben for getting up there and doing karaoke by himself. And then, so we were karaoke every night. We love karaoke. And then we also participated in a bunch of different game shows. We got taken up for 2 different shows. One, I just got picked. It was the Generation game, and it was who's cooler, the adults or the kids. And so it was me and this dad who very much did not want to be up there. And so basically the adults won. So basically I won for us because the dad did not want to be up there. And the only way he was like, got any points was because I was like egging him on. I'm like, come on. And we had to do trivia, and we had to do lip syncing, and we had to dance. And my kids told me, and they were sincere, they said, "Mom, you dance better than everybody else." The kids, they were little kids. They were like 9, 10 years old. And I'm sorry, they don't know how to dance. They were just like jumping. It was very funny. But we won that one, but they didn't give me anything. I'm super mad. Like, everybody gets medals, and I didn't get a prize. I don't know why they didn't give us anything. I almost think they forgot. And then we also played, the 3 of us played in the Inside Out game. Was that it? Yeah, the Inside Out game, where we had to figure out each other's reactions to different scenarios and stuff. We did really bad. We thought we would do really well, but we did really bad. But the other team that we played against, it was a mom and two adult daughters. They were such good sports about it, and we were all like cheering each other on and everything. Part of it was where one of us had to wear headphones, and so we couldn't hear. And they were playing this little jingle about toothpaste or gum. I think it was gum. Oh, I can't remember it now. It was stuck in my head for hours because they kept playing it over and over on the headphones, but I can't remember how it goes now. Hopefully I got it on a vlog coming up, but I have not edited any of the Disney Magic Cruise Line vlogs yet. The only ones I have edited so far are our travel day to Memphis and the Graceland videos. So if you've been following on my channel, the tomorrow's video is the last vlog from our Navigator of the Seas cruise on Royal Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas that we took at the end of January. So tomorrow's is the last vlog. And then there is another video that's it's a long one. I do a pretty thorough analysis of the best and worst things about that cruise. That's coming up. And then we went to Disneyland in California after that cruise. So there's 2 or 3 Disneyland videos coming, and then it'll start into this trip. So this trip's videos from the Disney Magic and from us going to Memphis and to New Orleans are starting at the beginning of May. So if you're waiting for those and you want to know when they're going to start at the beginning of May. The rest of April's videos will be the last of the stuff from our trip to California and our Navigator of the Seas cruise that we took in January. And then sometime around midsummer, I don't know how long they are yet. Until I start to edit things, I don't know. Like, I plan for a vlog a day. But I can tell you on Navigator of the Seas, you probably already saw this. The first 2 days, I had too much content and I had to split them in half so they wouldn't be an hour long. So I had 2 videos from the first day on Navigator of the Seas, and I had 2 videos from the second day of Navigator of the Seas. And I don't know yet if the Disney cruise will be like that too. So the series might last longer than I think it does if I have more content than I think I do. I don't know until I actually start editing. Navigator of the Seas it was really cheap. It was $1,400 for the 3 of us. This cruise, this one here was almost $5,000. It was $4,946 or something like that. And then the airfare was another $1,800-$1,900 to get there. So this was an expensive one. It was spring break, and it was, and it was Disney. But I talk about that in an upcoming video that I just filmed too. I really don't like it when people just flat out say, you're not the only one that feels that way, Heidi. A lot of people like long videos. I'll tell you a secret. Long videos is how I make money. The longer the video, the more ads on the video, the more money I make on the video. Ben has started making longer videos on his channel because he realized I'm making more money than him, even though he has 15 times more subscribers than me. Subscribers has nothing to do with how much money you make, but it just kind of gives you the sense of the size of the channel. But he has way more views on his videos, but I make more money than he does because my videos are longer and I have more ads. So I like long videos too. I'm not a fan of shorts either. I don't like shorts. And I'm getting the sense like some other channels that I watch that have been like putting polls on their channel and stuff. I don't know who is watching shorts. And I'll tell you, we make nothing on shorts. Shorts gets eyes on our channel. We get a lot of views from shorts. And we get subscribers from shorts, a decent number of new subscribers from shorts. We make literal pennies on shorts. I can have a short with 1,500 views on it. I'll make 3 cents. I'm not kidding. Okay, so it's not worth it to. I mean, they're easy enough for us to make, just quick make a short because they're not long, but they're not really. I know some people are really, really successful with shorts, but I don't know. I don't get the appeal. Because people I would get a headache doing that, scrolling through the shorts feed endlessly. But Yeah, and I forgot what I was talking about before. Oh, price. Oh yeah. I don't like it when people say, well, Heidi, there's a very clear answer. They're trying to compete with TikTok. They're not hiding it. TikTok is extremely successful and they're trying to compete with TikTok and Instagram Reels. It's Gen Z likes the shorts and they like the kids. They like the shorts, they like the Reels, they like TikTok. So that's what it is. I don't like it when people just flat out say Disney is more expensive than this cruise line because that's not true. I talk about this in an upcoming video. You've got to understand that every cruise price is going to be very different because there's too many variables to take into consideration. Number one, I mean, cruise line honestly is probably the lowest factor on what's going to determine the price of a cruise. Okay. Number one is the dates. The date of the exact same Disney cruise on the exact same ship on the exact same itinerary, everything can vary by thousands of dollars depending on when you're going. And that's true on every cruise line. Okay. Some weeks are more expensive than other weeks because of demand. Secondly, how many people are going? The more people that are going, the more expensive it's going to be. Okay. Thirdly, how long is the cruise? A 2-night cruise is obviously going to be less expensive than a 15-night cruise, so even the difference between a 4-night and a 5-night or a 4-night and a 7-night can be a huge difference. What kind of cabin are you getting? If you are content to have an inside cabin, that's going to be significantly less expensive than getting a balcony. So there's too many factors that you have to take into consideration. You can't just say all Disney cruises are too expensive because I'm going to tell you right now, I can go out and in 30 seconds find you a Carnival cruise that's way more expensive than a Disney cruise. So it depends on all these things. You have to take all that into account. And then something else I would say is right now, especially, you really have to take into account your travel costs to get there. If you don't live within easy driving distance of a cruise port, flights are awful. I've talked to so many viewers who have said that, they've had to change or cancel trips or just pay way more than they want to. And just now we had to buy our plane tickets for our cruise to Alaska. So we all had to buy, so 5 of us had to get plane tickets to Seattle. And hold on, let me add it up quick. Okay. I had some credit with Delta. So with my credit from Delta, we had like over $800 of credit with Delta. So after our credit, I ended up paying $418 each, which actually isn't bad. But that's only because I had the credit. If I hadn't had that credit, it would have been way more than that. So for the 3 of us, me, Megan, and Ben, $1,254 for our tickets. Plus, if you count the credit we had with Delta, that's another $2,054. So wait, is that right? No. 800 plus 12. It's like $2,000. Yeah, $2,054 for ours. My dad's was 500 something. He's flying out on the same flight as us to Seattle, but he's coming back earlier than we are. We're staying in Seattle for a few days after the cruise because Megan and Ben have never been to Seattle. All the rest of us have. And then Andrew has to fly from Boston. So Andrew's coming all the way across the entire country to meet us in Seattle, and his was almost $800. So airfare, so if you add that up, I think my dad's was almost 600, 800, 1,200-ish, $2,600 for airfare for the 5 of us to get to Seattle. So you got to factor that in. And then you usually want to have a hotel before your cruise. Oh, I have to tell you about the hotel we stayed at on this trip. The hotel that we stayed at, I'm so glad we stayed there. This might be my favorite hotel ever. We stayed at the Higgins Hotel, which is a Curio Collection by Hilton hotel, across the street from the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. Has anybody been there? Have you been to the National World War II Museum? Leave me a comment. Have you stayed or even eaten lunch in the Higgins Hotel? I have never seen such amazing theming, I guess is what you'd call it, in a hotel outside of like Disney World. It didn't feel Disney-ish, but it's the official hotel of the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, which is, I think, the most visited museum in the United States. It's an amazing museum, and it's extremely well done, and you could spend days there. Okay, it has so much information in it. But it's a 1940s Art Deco World War II hotel. It's like you step back in time, but it has all the modern amenities and luxuries of a modern day hotel. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's the music playing, the silverware, everything was straight out of the 40s. I love that period of history. I was just in heaven staying in that hotel. It was really, really nice. The service was amazing. And it was just so well themed to the 40s. It was so cool. And it's named after this guy, Mr. Higgins, who was a shipbuilder who built ships for World War II for the Navy based in New Orleans. And so there was a big picture of him, and we learned about him. There was a whole exhibit on him over in the World War II Museum. It was really, really cool. So you'll see that coming up in one of the blogs too. I loved that hotel. It was amazing. So that was a really cool highlight of going out of New Orleans. I mean, we did agree that we don't have any interest in cruising out of New Orleans again. I'm glad we did it because it was a cool experience. It was neat to visit New Orleans again. Megan really wanted to go back to New Orleans with me. She had been there previously on a school trip, which was not a very positive experience for her. So she was really happy and excited to get to go back with me. I don't think Ben was a huge fan. He liked the hotel. I don't think he liked the city so much, but everything in the hotel was themed. It was like you were in the 40s. The furniture, everything. And then, but we didn't like that it took so long to get to the ocean. It took, like I said, it was like 6-7 hours. I don't know. It was like midnight before we finally got to the Gulf of Mexico. So I don't know if you like looking at a river and swampiness in the dark, then sure. But I mean, it's a cool port city to be cruising out of because you can spend time in New Orleans either before or after your cruise. But as far as like having to make that transition, like that amount of time the ship has to spend going down the river, yes, I always do room tour videos. It just felt so long. We were like, you're used to when you cruise out of Florida, or even if you cruise out of San Diego or Boston or anything, you're not spending 6 hours to get to the ocean. It was just weird. Is Houston like that? I don't think so. I've never cruised out of Houston, but is there any other places like that? Leave them in the comments that you've cruised out of that there's a really lengthy period of time before you get to the sea, if you will. That's something very unique about cruising out of New Orleans. There were not any other cruise ships in with us there were and there weren't. We never figured out there was a cruise ship docked behind us, but I was never able to identify what it was. It was definitely not one of the major cruise lines. And it was still sitting there when we came back too. And I almost wonder if it was like for charters or parties or something. But the taxi driver, when he brought us to the port, told us they can have 2 ships in at a time. No, it wasn't the taxi driver. I think it was the bellman that took our luggage. He told us they could have 2 in at a time. Somebody told us because I asked. And so there is the potential that 2 cruise ships could be docked in New Orleans at once, but there was only us there when we were there. So, and I suppose that's because it was a 5-night. So we were leaving on a Monday and we returned on a Saturday. And I say it in one of the vlogs, there's 2 Carnival ships, Carnival Glory and Carnival Valor, I think are currently home ported in New Orleans, and then Norwegian Breakaway. One of those is currently cruising out of New Orleans too, but they probably are all doing 7 nights. And so they would have been leaving on maybe they can't all leave on the same day. I don't know, but, there was no other ship there while we were there. I'm really surprised. I don't know, probably the fourth, fifth live I've done about Disney stuff. And everybody says they want Disney live Q&As, but nobody ever asks anything about Disney. I'm always a little confused by that. Does anybody have any questions about Disney Cruise Line? Put them in the chat, please. And if you're watching this later, thank you for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, by the way. Whether you're watching it now live or whether you're watching it later, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you don't want to miss any of these upcoming vlogs from this cruise on the Disney Magic out of New Orleans, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Okay, and if you're not following me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, I don't post a lot on Twitter. What's going on with Twitter? Twitter's a mess, but I do post almost daily on my Heather Travels Facebook page, and I'm very active on Instagram. So if you're not following me on those two places, make sure you do that. But yeah, I don't understand. Everybody it seems like they have so many questions about Disney Cruise Line, but then when I'm actually here available to you to answer them, suddenly nobody has any questions about what it's like. Anybody have any questions? I'm trying to think of anything else I can tell you. We do have a video coming up that I just filmed. We compare 5 key aspects of the cruise experience, and we compare Royal Caribbean to Disney Cruise Line, because those are 2 of the cruise lines that are most commonly recommended for families. No, we're not going back to Wisconsin Dells. Nope. Please be content with the large number of Wisconsin Dells videos on my channel. My kids have outgrown it. We don't have any interest in going back there. And Wisconsin Dells, honestly, it's too expensive, and yeah, I'm just not interested in it anymore. Sorry. We have a ton of videos on my channel from Wisconsin Dells, but I don't see us ever going back there. Okay, do you need to dress up for dinner on Disney? There is it's very casual. We like to dress up for dinner. I mean, at least have some kind of dress, and Ben will wear like a polo or something. There is, on the 7-night Disney Cruise Line cruises, which I haven't taken a 7-night since 2001, there is a formal night where people will wear gowns, and you will see a lot of little girls dress up as princesses. So like a lot of little girls in Rapunzel's were dressed up like Rapunzel. When we were on the Wonder, a lot of little girls were dressed up like Tiana in her green ball gown because they want to get the pictures with her when they meet her, so they dress just like her. There's an optional like dress up night or an optional dress your best night, and most people wear something nice, but you don't have to. It's not super fancy, no. You can wear shorts in the dining room. You can wear I mean, Ben's always wearing, I think Ben was wearing shorts every night we were in dinner, even on the dress up night. He wore a nicer shirt and nicer shoes, but he was still wearing shorts. So it's very casual. But I will say that people do dress a little nicer on Disney Cruise Line in general than on Royal Caribbean. Also, though, it kind of depends on the itinerary. Anytime you're going in the Caribbean or, where it's hot like that, everybody's a little more casual anyway, just because you're hot. So I don't know, it kind of varies, but no, you don't have to dress up at all. I mean, you're eating in a nice fancy restaurant. So I mean, like, to me, if I was super casual, I would feel weird. I would feel out of place, but it's not required. They're not going to kick you out. They're not going to say you can't come in here. You can't wear your swimsuit to dinner. But you probably can't wear your pajamas. I don't know. I've never seen anybody try it, so I don't know what would happen. But let's see. Anything else I could tell you about? Speaking of like other stuff coming on the channel, you may have noticed I am really putting a lot of focus on cruises, and there's a very practical reason for that, and that is I need the money. Cruise videos get more views than anything else I do, and I need to be earning a lot more money from YouTube than I am now. And so I'm trying to build and grow my channel, and that's the fastest way to do it. I always do. Oh, I have been wanting to talk about this. I always do other stuff, even when I'm doing cruise vlogs. Like, for example, on our Navigator of the Seas, I always show you the travel day. I show you the experience of us flying. I talk to you about, what our travel was like. I always show the hotels that we stay in. If we're visiting a city before or after a cruise, or like when we went to Disneyland in California, I'm going to show you that. I'm always going to make videos about all of those things. And this is something I don't like. Some other kind of cruise focused channels don't do that. And that always kind of bothers me because I don't know anybody who unless you live in Florida right by the port, who just gets up one day and drives over to the port and gets on the ship immediately. I mean, I know there are some people who do that, but for the vast majority of people who live in the United States, or even the vast majority of people who live most places in the world, they don't live close enough to a cruise port to have that be their reality. And so cruising is not just the cruise. And that's something I think people need to remember, that there's a lot of other travel logistical things that you need to be aware of when you go on a cruise. And so that's why I make videos about all of it, because it's not like you just magically teleport to the cruise ship and you're there. You had to get there somehow. You probably had to stay in a hotel. You probably maybe had to take a flight or drive a long way or whatever. And so I think it's important to document all of that experience, because like my new tagline for my channel says, I make travel vlogs that are packed with travel tips. I try to give you as much helpful, useful information to help you understand what's involved in what we did, so you can be better prepared if you want to take a trip like that. If you want to go on this ship, what do you need to know? How do I get there? What do I have to do ahead of time? All of those things. I try to make videos about all of that. And I'm also going to bring up one more time, I did this in my community tab recently too. I want to remind people that I don't know what is going on in people's lives that they do this, but I have talked to other YouTube creators who feel the same way. The people who complain about us, and their complaint is, you complain too much. They put it in the comments. They're like, oh, all you do is complain. And I will go back because it'll really bother me. I'm like, did I just complain in this video? And I'll go back and I'll watch the video over. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, I'm not complaining. I mean, half the video, I'm smiling and laughing and talking about what a good time I'm having. And the only thing that I can figure is they're referring to the parts of a video where I'm explaining something you need to be aware of. There was really long lines for this, or, ooh, the food at this place wasn't really good, or something like that. Or you need to be prepared for this to happen when you go here, when you do this. That's not complaining. That's sharing important information that I'm purposely putting in the video because I want you to be aware of it, because I want to help you. Because if I didn't tell you that thing, and then you got there and you're completely unprepared and you're like, gosh, I wish somebody would have told me this. Because that's definitely happened to me, where I'm like, oh, shoot, I really wish we would have known about this ahead of time. Because so much of the travel experience is preparation. And even especially when you're traveling with your family, when you're traveling with kids, a big part of having a successful travel experience when you're traveling with kids is having your kids be prepared. So like, if you don't know what's going to happen, or you don't know what this place is going to be like, or you don't know when there's going to be kind of an uncomfortable situation, or, stuff like that. If you don't know it, then how can you prepare your kids for that? And unprepared kids can be tough to travel with, because if they don't know what to expect, they're going to whine and they're going to complain and they're going to be upset and stressed out and stuff like that. So I just feel like it's my goal on my channel to always make you as prepared as possible for the situation, whether it's something positive, negative, or whatever, just so you know what to expect. Because I feel like the more you know what to expect when you travel, the better off you're going to be. Hopefully you guys agree with me on that. But okay, yeah, if you're not critical, that's right, exactly. And we're always going to share our opinions. So I mean, and we say that this is how we feel. And oftentimes our opinions don't even agree with each other. I might like something and Ben doesn't, or I don't like something, but Megan does, or stuff like that. I am going to make sure on our upcoming Alaska cruise with my dad, because this is the first time we've taken a cruise with my dad since 2004. We're going on Holland America, which is a new cruise line for all of us. And Holland America has a reputation for being more for older people. But I've watched a couple of cruise videos recently. One by JJ Cruise I just watched was really good, where they were saying actually they were pleasantly surprised how much it wasn't that way. And so I'm really curious to find out what it's like for us, because we'll be traveling in a group of people that range in age from 15 to 81 years old. 81. No, yeah, my dad already had his birthday. So I'm really curious, and I'm going to make a video coming up about our experience on Holland America and what the different age people think of it, because I'll have teenagers, I'll have someone in their mid-late 20s, I'll have me who's 50 and my dad who's 81. And so I want to always give you as many different perspectives as I can, because that can really help too if you're traveling, you're one of those ages, or you're traveling with somebody who's one of those ages. One thing I can tell you, a lot of people think like Disney stuff is only for little kids, and that's really not true at all. If you're any kind of Disney fan, or if you've been to the parks enough or anything, a lot of stuff is in Disney movies and Disney shows and the Disney theming and the rides and everything that's really not intended for small children. A lot of the stuff that's in there that's, the funniest or the most interesting goes right over little kids' heads. I mean, one example of that was when we went to the Frozen sing-along at Hollywood Studios when we were there at Thanksgiving. The kids are not catching half the stuff that they're putting into that show that me and my teenagers thought was hilarious. So it's really not, and like people who complain about adults going to the parks, it's really kind of meant for adults, honestly. And Disney Cruise Line is kind of the same way. It's definitely very kid-friendly and family-friendly. Like, for example, they don't have casinos on the Disney ships. And also, you'll never hear a swear word. And like what I said earlier about alcohol, they don't have alcoholic drink packages or anything like that. So there's not a lot of drinking going on in a Disney ship. It's definitely a family-friendly environment, a family-friendly atmosphere, but it's a very enjoyable cruise line for adults. It has, first of all, the ships are beautiful. The service is impeccable. There's a larger adults only area on the Disney Cruise Line ships than you'll see that's adults only that the kids can't go in, both on the top deck and in the interior of the ship, than on any other cruise line, unless it's a straight up all adults only cruise line. I will say, like, when we were in the adults only area, pool deck area, there was no kids in there. I don't know how they do it, but no kids even try to get in there. And you'll always see kids trying to sneak into the adults only areas on like Royal Caribbean. So they do a very good job of making it a very nice experience for adults too. And my kids, at least Megan and Ben, having now, because they went on 2 Royal Caribbean cruises and 2 Disney cruises in the past year, they still prefer Disney Cruise Line over Royal Caribbean as a whole. There are aspects of Royal Caribbean that they like a little better, but even at their ages, they still like Disney Cruise Line better. So don't think that you should rule out Disney Cruise Line if your kids are like over the age of 10 or something, because it's definitely not true. And I would say that the second biggest like demographic you're going to see on Disney Cruise Line, besides families with children, is adults, like adult couples, older adult couples. You will see like a whole bunch of adult couples with no children with them, no younger people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s on Disney Cruise Line. There's a ton of them. So if that tells you anything, it's a really nice experience, even if you're not a family with kids. Okay, we've gone over an hour. I hope that you've enjoyed this live stream. I would love to get more questions about Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Magic, or cruising out of New Orleans. If you're watching this live stream later, please do leave me those questions in the comments down below, and I will answer those for you. I always answer everyone's questions in the comments. Thank you so much for those of you who joined me live today. And if you're watching this video later, thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. And I hope that I gave you some information that was helpful and useful to you. If I did, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you, again, want to make sure that you don't miss any of our upcoming vlogs from our trip to Memphis, New Orleans, and our 5-night Gulf of Mexico cruise on the Disney Magic, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.